Hello, everyone. My name is Sean King, and I'm part of Jay in Washington. And I was covering the Florida DOGE audits into Orange County and the City of Orlando governments. And so we will be covering the various findings and reports of what DOGE found.
Hey guys, this is a post production. Kellen, David, and Sean here. If you want to see more about this and you want to have the article that Sean wrote a great article about this.
Yes.
Please check the links in the description. You can find us on our company blog and in the T8020 Token community, the Orlando Boys. Thank you.
So this goes back into August. Doge initially showed up at Orange County August 5th, and then at the City of Orlando offices August 11th to the 12th. And so Orange County handed over 180,000 files, emails, contracts, spreadsheets, and Orlando uploaded 27,000 documents. And so what the Doge found, they dug into everything. So from everything from employee pay raises to DEI grants, homelessness programs, solar panels, electric vehicles, even a $460,000 tree counting contract. And so what Mayor Buddy Dyer said at the time was it was quite an effort, and we feel really good about how we manage our financial status over the years. On August 27th, Governor Ron DeSantis and the Chief Financial Officer Blaise Ingoglia held a press conference in Orlando and accused Orange County staff of hiding records. So that was from renaming files, scrubbing DEI code words from emails, and giving scripted answers. 60 employees, including the county attorney, was subpoenaed over DEI related grants worth more than $500,000. Angolia warned, "Don't lie to us." DeSantis summed it up in three words: fool around, fooled around, and find out. In late August, Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings, quote, "No employees was instructed to alter, change, or delete any documents. The whole process has been tainted. They've already tried and convicted Orange County before they ever complete their investigation." So now with that, there was sort of a back and forth with Orange County Mayor Demings and Florida State with DeSantis. And so there was a little bit of political contention there, of Demings saying, no, no employee was instructed to alter or change any documents. And Angolia and DeSantis was asserting otherwise. On September 15th, the first big numbers dropped. Angolia announced Orange County's general fund had grown 559 million in 5 years. After adjusting for inflation and population, Doge labeled 190.6 million of that excessive and wasteful. Translation: the county could cut its property tax by zero point 0.6 mils and still provide every service. Mayor Demings called it fuzzy math, pointing to 125,000 new residents, 206,000 daily tourists, and big raises for deputies and firefighters. On October 1st, DeSantis and Angolia released examples. In Orlando, 460,000 since 2020 to count trees, $150,000 to help undocumented immigrants. In Orange County, 230,000 for LGBT youth services and 240,000 for an urban planning firm focused on race, social, and health equity. Local officials pushed back. Those youth contracts were recommended by citizen task forces, and the urban planning tool was required by voters. On November 7th, the final reveal: CFO Angolia returned to Orlando with the completed FAFO audit results. City of Orlando was considered one of the best in Florida. Total wasteful and excessive spending was 22.3 million. That's only 4.32% above what Doge says the budget should be. Orlando could lower its mileage rate by 0.4 mils and still deliver police, fire, parks, and road at current levels. For the owner of a $350,000 home, that's roughly $140 saved per year. Angolia praised Orlando, saying that the city provided local governments and that they can keep spending relatively in check compared to big bloated budgets elsewhere in other cities in Florida. Mayor Dyer responded, saying that for more than a decade, we have maintained the same mileage rate, balanced every budget, and last year alone invested 406 million in police and fire, more than we collected in property taxes. In Orange County, the earlier 190 million excess finding stood. No new subpoenas or criminal referrals were announced, meaning that the state either found no smoking gun or tampering or chose not to pursue it further. Statewide, DOGE now claims more than 1.5 billion in wasteful spending identified across cities, counties, and universities. And on the point of universities, DOGE took on Florida's public universities in November of this year. They found that the new College of Florida spent $83,000 per student, which was the highest in the state. And so they did a survey and review of 12 state universities. University of Florida came in second at 45,000 per student, and UCF was the most efficient at 12,000 per student and $47,000 per degree. The state has already canceled or repurposed 33 million in university DEI grants. So now you're wondering, what does this mean for you as the voter, as a taxpayer in 2026? So Orlando
Would it
Strong,
be in 2026 or would it be in
oh,
2027? Already made the
2027. What we are concerned about there's a lot of Florida, as we know, is tourism, and so if the city even adopts half of DOGE's suggestions, your property taxes could stay flat or drop next year. Real money back in your pocket. Orange County's bare 190 million numbers highlights the real pressures. More tourists than residents on any given day, state mandated costs, and competitive pay to keep deputies and firefighters from leaving for either Georgia or Texas. Cut too deep, and you could risk longer 911 wait times or crumbling roads.
want that.
A typical Orlando homeowner could save $100 to $200 a year if the city follows DOGE's advice. So what this is looking like is that they are recommending various suggestions to their budgets. And so with the budget hearings, can we trim the number in the mills? Will Orange County fight the $190 million label or find savings? Ask your commissioner or our council member, what changes are you making because of the DOGE audit? And so with the DOGE audit, it really opened up an eye to this. And so many voters were not aware of all these various findings. And so we can get into that for sure with the various findings here into DEI, into solar panels. I mean, it goes very specific. And so is this something that you want your tax dollars going towards? Keep an eye on the ballot because Ngoli and DeSantis are pushing major property tax relief measures statewide. This isn't just political theater. Real auditors look at real dollars. Real findings came out, and now real decisions are coming that will hit your tax bill in the following months. At the end of the day, the power still belongs to you, the voter, the taxpayer, the family trying to make ends meet in Central Florida. Stay informed, speak up, your wallet is counting on it. And so that is a general overview of what is going on here. And so we can go into the specifics of numbers and what is being charged for tax dollars. But this has been, with the audits, I personally find something that's very revealing and something that is important for voters to be informed of where their money is going towards, how it's being spent, and what that means for your bill and for the voters here in Orange County.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's important to know, like, if you have a strong stance on an issue like DEI in schools, or whatever we rebrand affirmative action as these days, if you have a particularly strong opinion on that, or celebrations into holidays that county or city government put dollars into, if that's something that you have a strong opinion on, it's important to stay informed as to what it's being spent on, whether it's something you love or something you hate. It's still important to know. Information is power, and you want to be the most powerful voter that you can be. Sean, thank you very much for compiling this for us.
Thank you, Sean.
I think just in that 10-minute shotgun of stuff right there,
Of
David and I
course,
each
yeah, it
learned
was a lot.
so much. So thank you.
Thank you. And so going with this, in s- in terms of specifics, there is a lot of talking points about where this waste, quote unquote, waste spending is going towards. So, for example, $460,000 was spent on a tree counting contract in the city
Yeah.
of Orlando. Orlando paid a private consulting firm over $460,000 spread across multiple years for a full urban tree canopy inventory. So that's literally counting, mapping, and assessing tens of thousands of trees citywide. They hired outside experts to drive around, use fancy software, and produce reports on tree health and species and coverage. So why would DOGE call this waste? In 2025, we have drones, we have satellites, we have Google Earth and AI that can do this for a fraction of the cost.
Yeah.
Roach asked, why not use city staff for cheaper tech? This is $500,000 that could have fixed hundreds of potholes, hired 5 more firefighters, or stayed in your pocket.
Right.
Mayor Dyer's team said that it's required for federal grants, resilience climate planning, and keeping Orlando green for tourists and shade. They claim it helps plant more trees long term.
Sure.
Yeah.
For your
I
passive voter, I love trees as much as the next guy, but $460,000 to keep them while my streets flood every rain, that's the kind of thing that makes taxpayers say FO for a $350,000 home. That's like $10 to $15 of your property taxes
Yeah.
gone to arborist clipboards.
Yeah.
Tree
Sure.
counters making 6 figures while deputies beg for overtime. Prioritize people over plants.
Sure. And I think what Mayor Dyer brings up is something very important to a lot of local governments. I mean, a lot of what people do in local governments, a lot of how they decide their policy and how they set their agenda is how much money can we get back? Because states have programs, the federal government has programs, and that's an important way to fund cities. So a lot of people are fine. A lot of people, are more accepting of paying money for their state government than they are for their city government. It's like, okay, what does city government do? Half the voters don't even know, and that might be me being generous. So a lot of times they have to rely on, funded programs that are paid for because people would rather pay taxes for their federal or state government than their local government. So you pay up there, and the money shoots back down, and that's what makes the difference. That closes the gap that they would have otherwise. Um, if what Mayor Dyer is saying is true, and that you have to, and that they the federal program only accepts certain methods of it, then I think this would make sense. I don't know if the FAFO or FAFO people. Part of me wants to say FAFO, part of me thinks that sounds really bad.
They
Part
named
of
it.
me, yeah, they named it because they named it that because it was funny.
Yeah.
They named it because it was funny. I'm pretty sure, especially because DeSantis, uses the line. But I wonder if they were keeping federal grants in mind. I mean, I'm 100% certain they would be keeping state stuff in mind. That would be weird if they weren't. Um, and as a whole, we didn't see any incidents of response to that. So I'm guessing they took state stuff into account. I wonder if they were thinking about federal accounts and those alternatives that they suggested, could any of them be used for federal grants? And as far as so I bring up a quick point. As far as like political theater goes, as a whole, this audit isn't political theater because you do get genuine, authentic results. As to what they consider waste or what their biggest problems with or like the biggest like areas of focus are, there is a bit of agenda there, without a doubt. I mean, it's stuff that the Republican Party in Florida doesn't consider to be very important.
Yes.
And that is to be expected.
In terms of DEI, I think that is a huge talking point nowadays. And so they
Definitely.
really went into an investigation there, and I can go into that with DOGE. They zeroed in on 5 DI related grants in Orange County alone, worth over $500,000.
Your discussion about the money and where it's being applied, Kellen brought up a very good point, and it's something that we have not. It hasn't been made explicit, whether it's from Angolia or Demings or Dyer or anyone else who has fallen under these audits. What pot of money is the audits looking at when they determine what is a waste of those particular dollars? Are we looking at specifically property tax dollars? Are we, and as was mentioned before, federal grant money, or dollars that are appropriated from the state? Where, and I know school board money is different. They'll take a look at the different school districts. However, what's the methodology? I'd like to know the methodology of these audits and which pot of money, because there's different there's different sources of revenue, tax dollars, sales tax dollars, which and millage. They talk about the millage, so we know that that's part of the methodology. But are we also looking at federal dollars, federal grant dollars that are being used, and are those dollars included in these audits? Because I have a suspicion that only a certain part of the revenue is being reviewed and how it's being spent, and we're just getting part of the picture. And I think FAFO needs to explain what their methodology is and let us know, are they looking at every source of revenue in their audits, or just specific sources of revenue like sales tax, like tourist tax, like gas tax, or if there's, I believe there's no, maybe not, I don't know.
I don't think there is right now.
Right. So I like to know that. That's one of the issues that I was thinking of. And then there was another issue. I did not hear about those audits that the comptroller's office conducted.
I'm surprised about that, because the Orange County comptroller office did audits of Orange County themselves, and they found things that FAFO didn't. It was more serious. It was more detail oriented. Like the FAFO thing, the way I see it is they're focusing on bigger numbers. They're focusing on bigger bins. The Orange County comptroller, they dove into the specifics on things like tickets, for instance, like Orange County sponsorship tickets for games. They got down into the depths of that to see exactly, and even uncovered some scandal related to that. It was very detail oriented. They found some very interesting things, and not an FAFO, because it's a statewide thing. They're managing 50 million freaking projects at once. They don't have to be that detail oriented, but I think David's right. I think it would have been improved if they incorporated those audit findings. But then again, maybe they don't trust the Orange County people. I don't know why in this case, considering they were as detail oriented and found wasteful spending that they did. But another thing I guess wonder about, again, thinking back to grants, I'm getting the impression, and this is just the impression I've gotten, this could be totally off, that they're primarily looking at sales tax and millage, and then maybe TDT as well. I'm guessing we could look at the total budget of Orange County and match it up to what FAFO defined as like the total budget, and then you can make up the difference and figure out. But
again, I agree.
FAFO did that for us.
I agree. I'd love to know the methodology and what was taken into consideration versus what was not. Again, now they did find an issue with a particular government building, if I remember correctly, or a non-for-profit in the Paramore community that
I
has these solar panels. And that was a big issue in that community. And
Yes.
it kind of in the report, it it glossed over it, but it is in the report. And I tried to tune into Ngolia's FAFO press conferences to hear what's going on and get some meat. And I feel with all this fanfare, they left a lot to be desired. And I'm wondering, is there a big final report that
Maybe.
does list the methodology and the details, like you were
Be
saying, more
nice.
details?
I
Was it?
think, yeah, and with Paramore, if this is correct, I think it was part of Orlando's big green energy push in the
Yes.
historic
Mhm.
Paramore neighborhood, where they were installing solar panels and community centers, low income housing, schools, and parking. The total price tag I found was over $8 million since 2018, and so that's a combination of city funds, grants, and OUC partnerships with ongoing maintenance contracts. And so that was highlighted was the specific phase with subsidized panels for environmental justice zones. DOGE called it waste because they said panels were way over market price due to equity requirements, low actual energy outputs,
Okay.
and huge subsidies where residents get free power, but taxpayers foot the bill. And so DOGE said that the return on investment is decades out, if ever, while roads and public safety need cash now. Um,
Right.
with the local pushback, city says that it's fighting climate change, lowering bills for low income families, and bringing sustainable jobs to Paramore. They point to federal matching funds and said it's voter supported via past referendums. And so for the voter, solar sounds great until you see the bill, 8 million plus for panels that barely power a few buildings. That's money that, could have air conditioned every senior center
Right.
or fixed
Right.
I-4 traffic nightmares. In
I
Paramore, especially a neighborhood that needs jobs and safety first, this felt like more of like virtue signaling than real help.
agreed. And that particular project is controversial in that part of Orlando. And again, I in the press conferences that they've had, they hype it up. However, again, it's left me with asking, okay, how about a little bit more detail? You talk about if we hear about what's going on, saying just the numbers alone, but numbers say one thing, but the actual projects, the details of the projects definitely say another, considering that parts of Orange County is flooding. Parts
Yeah.
of Orlando are, falling apart. The roads are falling apart. Um, it just leaves a more to 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 discuss, or more to want more details. And I'm hoping that the Florida Doge office does give
More.
us a more detailed report, because again, we had those audits with Orange County government. We have these pet projects that people deserve to know more about, and more importantly, we had a city election that just occurred. We have a big one that's happening in 2027 for Orlando. And then we have the even bigger
Orange
election
County one
cycle
in
in
2026.
2026 with
Yeah.
possibly 6 seats on the Orange County board up for election. And, if you look at what Mayor Demi said, that there's no excess, there's no, fraud. Well, okay, if there's no fraud, then how about an explanation for these different projects than your standard line? Well, this is what the community voted for. Give me some meat, give us some details.
Yeah.
What did we vote for? And how did you use that money?
Yeah, it's like with the urban planning tool, and again, this kind of goes back to like what methodology DOGE uses. Do they consider opportunity cost when, like, at all, is a question I have. Because when you're spending dollars, you have a limited budget. If you're spending dollars, for example, into solar panels or a college grant, there's naturally an opportunity cost where hypothetically the money could be spent elsewhere.
Mhm.
And I wonder if they kept that into account at all, or if they considered that too political in the local sense. I think that could be an angle that they could pursue, but a part of me wonders if they don't want to do it because before these audits came out, I had heard from a couple members of my community who shall remain unnamed for the purposes of video, who basically, well before the audits like actually kicked off, we're predicting that this would be a tool to bully local governments into complying with or joining with whatever Tallahassee wants. They thought that it was an agenda push, and I wonder if, because again they don't address opportunity costs from what I can tell, I wonder if that is something they will ever address, or if that will just feed into that narrative and thus make it too polarizing and partisan. I mean, because you're right. I mean, we could talk about flooding, we could talk about urban blight, we could talk about water safety issues. There's a lot of things that could be a lot better here, and that needs serious money.
Well, one of the things, Kellen, that is I think, a significant issue versus some of these pet projects, was
You had
considered
mentioned something.
GI issues, is what Scott Maxwell pointed out in an article dated November 14th. Today is the 15th of November, Saturday. And the title, Scott Maxwell of the Orlando Sentinel, their star liberal columnist, opinion columnist, the title's called Maxwell. Orlando now ranks 49th out of 50 in wages. And at one point, Orlando was 50th out of 50 states in wages. And so I see the board, the county board, and certain members shifting towards issues of the environment and equity and inclusion, things like that. However, they're missing the boat for a lot of Orange County residents in just being able to afford to live here and afford to work here. Most people on average in Orlando are making a little bit under $16.50. $16.50, and making, if I remember correctly, they're making under, on average, the median income, I believe in the article told me, about $48,000, just under $48,000. Yes, one out of every 4 jobs in Central Florida pays less than $16.76. And no one can afford a home right now. Back in 2000, a home was maybe $150,000. Now it's $400,000. This is not good for Orlandians. And the average income, again, how our wages compare, the annual median income in 2024, based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics, is $45,410. Again, U.S. Census Bureau for 2024, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Occupational Employment and Wage Statistics query system, dated May 24th. The metropolitan statistical areas are listed by principal city for readability, according to this particular article by Scott Maxwell. We have an affordability issue here.
Yeah.
And I did not hear from the city and county leaders that they're addressing this in their budgets.
Right.
Yeah. And when you see
in response to Ngolia and DeSantis's accusations.
Yeah. And it's worth noting, when you talk environmental issues, obviously environmental is a gigantic umbrella. 50 billion things are below that umbrella. There are there are policies that can both jointly address environmental concerns and make a city more affordable. Because cities all over the world, they do it all the time. And in theory, the Paramore project should have been one of those things. In fact, it really could have been, because you're taking housing belonging to the people who can least afford to live here, and you're reducing their electric bill, right? That's in theory a way to do it. However, there's that concern of like, okay, but are we using it on people? Are we using it on businesses? And furthermore, like, are we doing this in the most effective way that we can? I think that is the value of an efficiency audit. It's okay, the idea is there. The idea is there, right? You can use clean energy to rely on FPL a little less, and people are a little better off, especially long term, because that's a permanent fixture as long as you maintain it. And it's not that hard to maintain a voltaic solar panel. It's not that much. There is that idea of building infrastructure that can help people. But again, if you're not putting it in the right places, or you're using the wrong amounts, like, you're not accomplishing your goal. And things like the convention, and we've talked about this a million times, but convention center, the Demings Convention Center thing, so stupid. Our convention center is fine. And also worth noting.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And also worth noting that I think there's a bit of out of touchness, I think, within our local government about what people want built in their community. Because of course, part of it is TDT, your tourist development tax. For some reason the state says we can only use it to attract more tourists, which is and they're very strict on the definition. If they were looser, this would help us a lot.
It's like, where's the balance between tourism and citizens, right?
Yeah, there's not. And I remember we had an Orange County commissioner, on our socials. We did an interview with them about a year ago. It was actually, I will name him because you can go back and find him. This was Myra Uribe, the current District 3 commissioner and candidate for Orange County mayor in 2026 as of right now.
Right.
One of the things that she was talking about things that she was doing and things that she was proud of. One of the things, and this felt so bizarre to me, given everything else I see coming out of a lot of districts. Maybe this is my District 5 coming out, but when she made a huge thing about promoting the fact that rather than building an apartment building in this one neighborhood, like an apartment building, instead of building that, she managed to lobby them to build homes, like single family homes.
Yeah.
Instead, maybe in an economy where that was in such high demand and people could afford it, that wouldn't be so bad, because there's an aesthetic thing there, I guess. I honestly question, like, why is the aesthetic of an area more important than the affordability of an area when you have, and the affordability crisis, obviously it's worse now in 2025, but it was bad then too.
Well, what's interesting, also, I don't know if this can be a different discussion, but I remember as someone who was from New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone back in, I guess it was 2020, 2021, 2022, was moving to Florida because Florida was affordable. And now Florida ranks as, actually, I think it came out in the top 5 in some study. I don't know the exact study, but I saw that now it's top 5 of people actually moving out of the state and moving elsewhere, maybe to Texas or to Arizona or to Georgia. And so Florida is no longer, the what's the word? Accessible, or like affordable is the word, state that it once was, I guess, considered. And so with these findings in the audits, I think many taxpayers are very upset with where their money is actually going towards, and it's costing the state and thus in turn the taxpayers.
And I think a lot of people, when they're moving away from places like New York, they moved to Florida because they saw no income tax. And I think they thought that meant it would be more affordable than it was, because the fact of the matter is we do pay a decent chunk of change still in tax. It's just you're just not aware of it as much. It's the tolls you pay on the roads, the taxes you pay on every item that you buy, basically, except for like your food, except like if you're buying like ingredients for food, like then you won't then you're not paying extra taxes. But that's the kind of things, like, that's the kind of the annoying thing about our tax system. Sometimes our tax code is that it's hard to assess
Right.
how much you actually pay. And we talked about this one time in regards to Osceola County, just south of Orange County. We did on this on the show. This was a year and change ago. When you saw that many people going in Osceola County, you saw Osceola County ballooning.
Yeah.
They've been spending a lot. They've been spending like crazy, trying to make sure housing gets up, roads get expanded, that sewage gets built out and fixed. They're doing everything they can because there's so many people coming in. But the thing is, people can move in a year. Infrastructure cannot get built in a year in most cases, unless it's a simple piece. A lot of times that infrastructure takes a long time to come together. And when you have all these people cramming in at once, it's too much. And so that's absolutely a problem that we've had. And of course, you have people like my family who came here on a vacation and decided to stay here, which is my Florida origin. It was a more fun place to be than where I was initially. I lived in basically a desert, so this was a nice change of pace.
Right.
But you're right. We have a really bad way. We have a kind of a rough economic situation here in Orange County, here in the Orlando area, because the jobs that we need to maintain a tourism industry are not all that high paying. And in many ways, we have not built the infrastructure with the workers in mind. We've been building it exclusively with the tourists in mind. The tourists come here, they're willing to spend dollars. Our own people are not. We still don't have a transportation system to get workers from their homes to their jobs. We still don't have that.
Right. It's like, what are they doing? You know what I mean?
They're prioritizing. They have tunnel vision, because I think is what they're doing. They have tunnel vision, and I think as far as these audits go, again, I'm kind of with David on this one. I'm like, I kind of wanted a little bit more, and I found it, and I was a little miffed because you see so many things that are underfunded. That the first place FAFO goes is you could cut your millage rates by 0.4. I'm like, how about spend that? How about fill a pothole?
Right. I
mean, how about you fill a pothole?
And that's where we have to break it down into layman's terms, because it's like, this is great. This conversation is great. But for the average voter, for the average taxpayer, they don't give a F about any of this. Like, where's my money being spent on? Where are my taxes going towards? And then when they find this, it's like they're angry, right? And so it's like, what does this mean for the average person, right? I mean,
and to be honest, Sean, again, we just had the Orlando municipal elections on November 4th, and only 17.1% of the eligible voters, I can't remember the exact number, but more than enough in 3 districts. Only 17.1 of those voters actually voted.
Right.
And so you ask a very good question, or you make a good statement. Do they really care?
I mean, do they really care? It's like, I think not, right?
I don't think they're caring for the people who aren't voting for them, which is most people, as it turns out. And I was just looking at the rankings because Sean brought up Florida right now in the Big 2025 is number 44 in availability. And affordability.
Availability of what?
Affordability. It's number 44 in housing affordability, and number 40 in cost of living. Number 47,
out of 50 states.
Number 47 in opportunity, which is another thing we've actually discussed.
What study is that?
This is from the U.S. The U.S. News and World Report is where this comes from. So they do their own internal investigations. They probably don't have methodology. It's they're rough. It's a rough idea. Things can probably vary up to 5 or 6 places. It's just a thing.
That's not good news.
It's not good news. We discussed it. Go on.
Here's some more numbers. Between 2023 and 24, Central Florida gained about 1,150 new jobs in software development, with a median annual salary of $123,000. And we added another 3,200 jobs for fast food counter workers with a median wage income of $28,000 in that same period. So more than double
Wow.
of the jobs created in that same time frame were for fast food counter workers.
That's
That's the
crazy.
problem. We have approximately 200,000 jobs in food prep and fast food alone here in Central Florida.
Which makes sense because it's a tourist area. And again, it just goes back to the county. It is what it is. If that's the economy that we've chosen to have, that we have a tourist economy and tourism services, our main thing, you have to build for the situation you have, not the one you want to have. And I think that the current leadership wants a situation where the people who get educated here stay here, that they stay here, they work high-paying jobs. They're corporate.
Right.
There's corporate offices here. Maybe there's even shipping here. That doesn't cause horrific blight. I went to this one. There was this one community I went to where my car dealership is. That community had a lot of shipping, and it's disastrous as a result. Actually,
Mhm.
it's we don't have a situation where people are making a lot of money buying 5-bedroom homes. We don't have that situation. Seminole County has that situation a little bit. Parts of it do. Orange County, again, narrow strips of it do. But as a whole, that's not the situation we have. We have a situation where people are working tourism service, and that's just not that lucrative, because if you pay them a lot, then the price will be reflected and passed on to the tourists, and the tourists won't come here. They'll go somewhere else. That's a natural way of things. So let's just build. We should be building for affordability, not the I want my neighborhood to look a certain way, so we can't build an apartment complex across the pond.
Mhm.
That's obviously just one of my personal pet peeves. About one of the things that we heard on the show from one of the commissioners.
Right. And, again, 89,000 people are registered in the 2025 elections in November, and 17.1% of them actually voted, about 15,000. So, again, going back to what Sean was saying, what we've been saying for so long, is there an appetite for people to realize that affordability is the issue, and not necessarily solar panels on nonprofits and churches and whatever,
Right.
and counting trees.
Yeah. We've talked about county trees actually before as well. We actually heard from a commissioner on that, and the way the commissioner laid it out made it make sense. It keeps heat off the sidewalks, it makes pedestrian life more accessible, and it stresses people out who drive too fast. Was the actual reason. It was because if they did a study where they found that the roads that had trees on it, people would drive slower because they felt more claustrophobic in the road.
But
That's the actual
Kellen,
reason we
come
do
on.
it.
All the parking lots in Orange County alone.
What parking lots, David? There's no parking. You park on the side of the road.
And that's another issue. I mean, gee whiz, the heat that comes off the pavement on Disney and Universal's, properties
Oh
alone.
man,
Oh my gosh.
hot as crap. All cities get hot, but it is really hot.
It's really hot. It's
It's really
blacktop. There's no shade or anything.
Yeah, yeah, and at the end of the day, like again, these are things that in theory, if we were to address, you were to put in county trees, improve the pedestrian life, you might be motivating people to walk or bike places, which would be awesome if we weren't the least walkable city in America
Exactly.
because of Interstate 4.
Yep.
I-4 literally blocks our ability to make a walkable city as it stands right now, because there's only a couple holes in it that pedestrians could go through. And you better hope you live in an area where you don't have to go down like north or south a mile or east or west a mile to reach that hole. Or else you are not biking to work. Like you are not gonna. That's not practical. So like our ability to walk is greatly reduced. Our ability to park is really rough.
Yeah.
And we won't build public transportation because Disney's going to throw a fit about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they will. Both Disney and Universal would throw a fit, depending on how they route it, because God forbid Disney is slightly further away from the airport than Universal. God forbid. Again, there's just, I think, a severe amount of out of touchness, and I think we did see a little bit of that in the DOGE discussion. I know we veered off and talked about politics, and I'd do it again too. But you saw that little bit of out of touchness going back to the audits. Is the priority really these grants? And I'm not even saying these grants are a bad idea. I actually don't think they are. I think they're a good enough idea on their own. I think it's only when you put into context that I start questioning the amounts a little bit. And of course, things like that Paramore project. Even if you have the right general idea, are you executing on it in a good way?
I'm going to inquire on behalf of County Watch for Ngolia's office to provide more detail and have someone present to County Watch. If not, give us a little bit more detail for our purposes here on the Jane Washington Network. So I don't think this story's over.
Oh, it's not over. And if he is able to attend a County Watch meeting, I'll be there, and our viewers should be there too. If you watched 50 minutes of this video, actually, you're probably a member.
Our loyal subscribers.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
A lot of them, coincidentally, are also members of County Watch.
Yes,
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
However, this conversation is not over.
It's just not over.
This is an ongoing conversation, and this is something that's going to continue until it's, for years on end. I think overall, if we're going to bring this to sort of a closing point, I think that these audits revealed insightful information. I think personally, and I think as we discussed, it could have gone much deeper. Is this more semantics and a discussion of political theater and sort of a back and forth with the Elon Musk DOGE, right? The overhaul of that. Is it actually trying to dig into something that's there? And clearly it is. Overall, Orlando, in comparison to other cities across the state, ranked more efficient than other cities.
Sure.
But still, there was the back and forth of, well, you're taking out your DEI code words and keywords and your documents and your files and your emails, and so I still feel like it's a bit of back and forth of politics here. But I think for the voter, what they care about is how's this impacting my wallet, and I think that's the most important part here, being that the average voter doesn't care that Demings or Dyer are going back and forth with DeSantis and Golia. They're like, who cares? How is this impacting me and where my money is going towards?
I know in closing for me, I would like to see the candidates for 2026 and 2027 and 2028 talk about affordability. What is their plan? I'm tired of we're going to fight for this and that. I'm tired of, the same bullet points. I want to know how they define affordability and make Central Florida affordable for the regular guy and gal.
I agree. I think as far as audits are concerned, I wish there was less of an emphasis on social issues. And look, if you have a strong stance on, college grants for minority groups, then sure, this was very insightful for you one way or the other. But again, I think that FAFO would be doing us a better service, because I think this is a good idea that Florida State is up to overall, if they're being completely genuine with it and not just pushing their agenda with it. If they're being genuine with it, this is a good idea, because you could find places, why we could get down to the bottom of what services aren't being delivered and what we do to make sure they are delivered. And I think that's what FAFO needs to focus on. And I think FAFO could do better on its outreach to local communities. I think it's been used primarily to be like, cities are so woke these days. I think is what a lot of it is.
I mean,
What?
I get what you're saying, Cullen. I get what you're saying, but there's truth to that. Do we
There
really need
is.
to put
Sure.
in, $300,000 towards LGBT services? I mean, really? I mean, that's ridiculous.
Sure. But when you look at the Orange County total budget amount, let me quickly pull this up so I can correctly generate of 8.3 billion. I'm not going to say that money doesn't matter to me.
Well,
It matters to me.
more importantly, what I found was that there's a report of now they're finding that the deputies, they found there's underfunding or lack of funding
Yeah.
for police and fire. And so
that's
they're
helpful.
putting it towards these other programs. And as you mentioned, woke, but that does have real world consequences because now these deputies and various fire and
Yeah.
police staff are moving to states like Texas or Georgia where they feel more
Yeah. Georgia's
valued
a good
and
deal.
paid. And so then where's the funding now for something that most voters will consider fire and police more
Sure.
critical, then let's
I think most
fund
people would as well.
LGBT non-binaries. You know what I mean? It's
Sure.
like
I agree. I think most people find them more. And it's not just police and fire. Again, it's the roads, it's transportation, it's apartments,
infrastructure, yes. It's like
it's energy, it's everything. Well, nearly everything, not literally everything. Like those bits of money are important, but I want to know what is going into these other projects. Is there an error in assessment? What is going on? Why is stuff not being accomplished? I think that would provide a lot of value if DOGE could give us a little bit more on that. And with that, I think we've had a very detailed discussion about what these kind of DOGE audits mean, kind of where it kind of goes right and where it kind of doesn't. Any other quick closing thoughts before we head out? Or are we done?
To be continued.
to be continued for sure.
Stay tuned. Visit County Watch's website. If the auditor is there, if Ngoya's office is there, you want to be there. And with that, we are the Jane Washington Network, and we are out. If you watched our video to the end, thank you very much. It means the world to us. We like people who are really engaged with their local community, and we want to do everything we can to make it easy. Commenting, and sharing this video helps with that mission. Thank you.